Awesome. Welcome to the podcast, Alex.
Thank you.
Conversations with DJ. I think it's episode around 1920. What I heard was that if you have like 21 podcasts, you're in the top 1%. So as soon as I hit 21, every time I hit 21 episodes and they're uploaded, I'm going to be like, hey, just so you know, I'm DJ Young and I run a 1% podcast. That said, please introduce yourself.
Amazing. Okay, well, I'm Alix Truong. I'm 19 years old, residing in Salt Lake City, Utah now.
Mm-hmm.
I play on the PPA tour.
Yeah. Where do you move from?
I moved from DC.
Okay. Why is that?
I fell in love with the mountains a couple months ago. Truly, my grandparents live in Sandy, Utah, which is about 20 minutes from where I live.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would visit Salt Lake every summer and winter growing up as a kid just to do the outdoor activities. And then it's an easy spot for my parents to come and visit if they want.
Okay.
But it's a very easy place to navigate.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's like a one highway straight shot and everything's a grid system.
Yeah.
And then I have a bunch of friends out there. My coach is out there, Jason Perry.
Shout out to Jason Perry.
And then, we have good players out there, Tyler, Callie, Megan, Etta, Elise, a bunch of other people, but it's super fun.
What did your parents think about the move initially?
I think it took them a while to let me go off on my own to play pickleball.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, I took a full year. It was my senior year of high school to just travel because it was tournament after tournament after tournament. So I was gone anyway, and I was barely home. It was like 2 or 3 days at home that I'm leaving. So
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't like I'm living with them.
Right.
So a year on and off, and then I made that transition to Utah. So I was already gone and out of the house. So it wasn't really a thing for them.
Right.
And then I think it gave them some sort of security that my grandparents are from Utah and they have a place. And again, like if I need anything, they're just right down the street.
Yeah.
And then I consider myself more street smart than book smart.
So I'm figure it out.
Yeah. So I'm good at like navigation. That's like my number one life skill.
Mm-hmm.
But again, easy place to navigate, and it's a good place to have people around me.
Yeah, no, for sure. I personally love Utah. Like we were just there with the Black Bears before I got dropped. I'm a Bay Area breaker now. It's all good. But I love Utah. There's this place, I don't know, it's just like Sweezy or something, and they make like super yummy drinks.
Swig?
Swig. That thing. They make super yummy drinks. And I always have a good time when I'm there. I'm more of a beach person personally.
Okay.
So I think you prefer mountains over the beach, but I just love some ocean views and everything. But how was the transition kind of going into Utah? Because obviously now you're well known, you're very good, but probably when you moved, it was probably a little bit harder because you were coming from the APP at the time, and you didn't play as many tournaments or you weren't as well known. So how was it getting into that realm of things with like practicing with better players?
That's a great question because there's a whole story to it.
Mm-hmm. People are picky in pickleball too.
They are very picky, and there's very tight circles, very clicky. I was kind of just floating out in the open with the different players that I wanted to play with, and I have a ton of 5'5" plus guys that I'll go and hang out with or play with, drill with out in Utah. So I was still asking those guys to play, and then once in a while I would reach out to Callie or Elise or Tyler to hit, and it wasn't a regular thing at the time. So I'd get like once every 2 to 3 week sessions with them, and of course it wasn't ideal at the time because I'm trying to get better. But when I was with the APP full time, every time I showed up to a practice with them, you could feel the tension.
Okay.
And I didn't know what it really was until I talked to Jason, and I'm like, hey, like I was training with Jason twice a week, and he was definitely a big factor in helping me fit into the whole Utah group and just getting settled there. And he was like, man, like you just gotta switch. You gotta get on to the PPA. You gotta start playing like the good competition and just get yourself out there. Like you're proving yourself on the APP already. Like when are you gonna make the switch? Yeah. And he was like, I think that the reason why you're feeling left out is literally because you're playing APP tournaments and not PPA tournaments. Like you don't know the players.
Right.
And so I kind of took that to heart. And every time I showed up to a practice after that conversation, it was so awkward. I think I was making it awkward in my own head. Yeah. But I was like, okay, because I'm literally not a PPA player, nobody wants anything to do with me. And so I signed on to the PPA a little later in the year, March or April. And I can tell you, the first PPA tournament I showed up to was PPA North Carolina.
Yeah.
I show up and you get drafted first, but then Callie comes up to me and Elise comes up to me, and they're all like very warm and welcoming.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. Not that they weren't before,
right?
But it was different. They knew I was over to the PPA, and everybody since then was very kind and warming.
Yeah, and also, I mean, PPA and APP, whether they have the same schedule or not, right? Like, I mean, if they're going to the West Coast, you might be going to the East Coast, and that's even less time that you get to, like, see them and hang out with them, right? So I think at the end of the day, I mean, I love Elise. She's in my team now. I love Callie. I think she's super nice. So maybe it's not necessarily maybe of a PPA, APP thing, but it's more of a, like, you know, we just don't get to, like, hang out and see each other because, you know, you're out there doing your thing and we're out here. But if you both live in Utah, like, you could still go to the same tournament and even run across each other at the airport, and then you sit together. You start kind of creating that friendship sort of thing, right?
Totally.
How do you get hooked up with Engage when you signed? How did that go?
I remember this. This was February of 23. Maybe, 23. So last year, I was in between paddle companies for about a week. I was just moving my contract with Gamma. Yeah. It was just coming up.
How long was that contract? I feel like you played with it for like 4 years.
No, I was on and off. I was only signed with them for about a year.
Okay.
They were just, carbon paddles weren't really a thing yet, carbon face paddles. And so this was the transition period with D-Lam. Like it was a hot topic at the time. Yeah. And so Gamma didn't have one of those paddles out yet, so my contract was up, and I was playing with, is it the Black Ace? Not the
ProKennex?
Not the ProKennex.
Which one?
The one that Scarpa uses.
I think it's just Ace.
Just the Ace, whatever it is. Yeah. So whatever their first carbon paddle was, I played with that for a week, and then Engage was at that tournament. Josh Elliott was at that tournament, Daytona APP. And I was like, hey, like if you're now interested in playing with like a different kind of faced paddle, like let me know. And so we started having conversation there. And at the time, Hunter and H. Johnson were also looking for a paddle company. So we kind of came in together. We weren't meant to be grouped together, but it just happened to work out. Yeah. Josh was interested in the three of us and our games at that tournament. We played really well.
What year was this again?
Last year.
Okay,
early last year. Yeah, so then I had officially signed on with them in April for the U.S. Open. And so we like launched our big setup at the U.S. Open, and they had more paddles coming out. And I, was brand new to the whole carbon paddle, so I thought it was super good of a paddle, and they hooked me up.
Yeah, instantly, that's awesome. So I have a question for you. What's up? This is just personal, opinion, thought, whatever it is. But I don't know exactly what Anna Lee plays with. Like, I don't know if it's Cryfight. I don't know if it's... Yeah. I don't know what it is, right? But she's amazing. She beats everybody up pretty good. That says she hits the shit out of the ball, right? So when I see... well, in your case, a little bit different because your paddle is very poppy as well, right? But when I see, a girl on the PPA tour and they're playing with a soft paddle, right? Like maybe like a 16 millimeter Selkirk or something, whatever it is, right? And they constantly keep getting beat up by Anna Lee with a really poppy paddle. I guess my question is, like, why do people not try to mimic or try to do and play what the best person does, right? Because what I did when I got done with ProKennex like years ago, I was like, okay, what does Ben play with? He plays with it for a reason, right? So like at the time, that paddle, the Franklin one, had a lot of grit,
right?
And then he switched to Yola, then I switched to Carbon, still had a lot of grit, but it's on the softer side. So why do you think like most girls are not playing with just like rocket ships?
I think paddle companies now are sponsoring players for what they have, and right now it's probably just about the money. So whatever company that you're with, that's the gig that you get. With that being said, why don't paddle companies try to mimic the best in the world's paddles? Right now I'm seeing former Engage players play with Paddle Tech paddles. Yeah. So I know that there's really a connection, paddle, but is it? I haven't tried it out, but I guess they're like the same build of a paddle, whatever the core is. I am not very good with the science behind these paddles. There's several like surface materials, and then you have the core materials, and then grip materials, and then thicknesses. I don't understand it. Yeah. But I've heard rumors, that Annalise paddle is not the same as the paddle that is being sold on the market for the general public. That again, I don't know. I know that my Engage paddle is the same that's sold,
right?
And it gives everybody the same amount of pop. So if you're asking for just Annalise paddle, maybe it's something that Paddle Tech is just keeping in house. If it's a general company thing, I think the same manufacturers are making the same paddle. So maybe it's about just getting a hold of that information of what kind of material is being used in each paddle.
Okay. So that aside, just kind of knowing, whatever Annalise plays with, which I don't know, it might be the same paddle, might not be. She's very good, so I think she could win with about anything.
Right.
But why wouldn't every girl play with, if you're Sulker, why wouldn't you play with an 002? If you're let's say Engage, why would you play with 6.0 instead of instead of like the normal MX? If you're if you're Yola, like obviously then you would play with a Gen 3 instead of a Gen 2. So like, why do you think I think there's a lot of girls like the Kawamotos, for example, that play with really soft paddles regardless, where like what I'm seeing when I watch Pickle is that she's just running through people, like literally like
Annalise.
Yeah. Just running. Like I'm not even saying like, oh, there's some dinking. Like there's a lob, there's a tween, like it's like literally drive, speed up, like put away, like whatever it is. Like what would you say that, a lot of the girls are not making the change?
I mean, I think it's totally just based off of preference. I mean, for me, not knowing what the paddle market is, I'm just gonna use what's next best or what's new. I mean, I was just watching Annalise yesterday playing singles. I mean, she's built. She rips through everything, like you said, and she gets every ball deep. I mean, that has to come with practice and lifting, of course, nutrition. But for other girls, it totally has to be preference. Like the Kawamotos, I think that they're great for women's doubles and their game, and then all you have to do in mix as a girl is to get the ball back. And so having that steady base and just getting balls over like the Kawamotos do and being like a brick wall, maybe a softer paddle is fine because you don't need power. You have that consistency and you're just going to play points out that way. And I feel like I don't think they get overpowered. They're still strong girls and they can hit through a ball, but they don't necessarily need that pop, and they would rather have a paddle that gains them control. For me, like I play a different paddle or different weights, singles and doubles, and so that's another factor, like where I put my lead tape, right? Head heavy, I'm going to get more head spin on it and more pace on it, and so I think that gives me more pop and power. And then in doubles, if I need something less, then I'll put my lead tape more towards the handle. I know Dominique Schaefer was first using the 6.0 Engage Pro MX when she was playing.
More. It's softer, so you scraps more.
No, exactly. And so for girls who just want to hit ground strokes from the baseline, maybe you need a thicker paddle because you're just going to keep slapping through the ball and you want it to sit. Unless you're more of a girl who has shape to their ball. I can't think of a girl right now who has a lot of shape to their ball.
Yeah, for sure.
But then you don't need a thicker paddle to use. So I guess, again, it's all just through preference.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. Do you think there's a if paddles keep going the way that they're going, do you think it's a possibility that the right side player plays with the softest paddle in the world and the left side plays with the poppiest paddle in the world? Because, I mean, if you're the right side and you're defending everything and then the left side is kind of known for attacking, they might as well.
If you talk in a traditional sense, yes.
Yeah.
But then you have your anomalies like Annalise that can
be
aggressive on the right side and just completely take over.
Do you know if you were gonna get picked for MLP, or was that kind of like a super last second, like, oh, fuck,
oh my
like
gosh, I was stressing. So we were PPA North Carolina. That was my first PPA, and I was anxious for the draft and just anxious that it was my first PPA. And so going into the draft, I thought it was going to be Utah or nothing. That's what I tell people.
Utah, this is my tournament.
Well, politically, right? I had just moved to Utah and Connor had just signed me to the tour. And so I'm kind of like hoping that Connor would give me, a shot to play for the big dogs.
Right.
And so going into it, I'm monitoring the draft. And you have certain teams that are being strategic, of course. So you have like Anna Bright's team with Anna, Gabe, and Hayden. That was their first race. So you have one girl left. And in that scenario, I'm like, okay, like I'm good friends with Anna. And then Hayden, obviously, and Gabe were around the same age. But the downside to that would be, does Anna really want like a super young and upside team? Maybe, maybe not. But that's somewhere that I possibly could have gone.
Right.
Then you have Arizona Drive when you have Andre and Dylan. Then you have 2 free girls. Which girls are you going to pick? You don't know. But again, I had a good relationship with Diascu on the APP. I had played with him a couple times.
And you won. Yeah, you won.
We did back last year. So that was also another place where I could have seen myself going.
Yeah.
But you can always place yourself in different scenarios.
You can definitely find a way. Like, well, we talked like 3 years ago, so I think it's good.
No, literally. But you just don't know where you're gonna go, and you don't know if it's gonna be the player's pick or the owner's pick or the GM. You don't know who knows you. So in addition to your play for Premier, it's about politics, and so that's why I was saying Utah or nothing. Just because I moved, I feel like I was in.
Well,
but
if you were APP,
maybe
no
not. But honestly, during that time, I was working my way up. I feel like I was in a good spot, especially getting the chance to be signed by the PPA. You're not going to be signed for nothing, right? Like you have to work and show that you're playing well. But no, being the 48th pick of the draft, I definitely was sweating.
I can only imagine. It's like all these picks go through, right? And then you're sitting there and you're like, okay, 47 is the guy. Like, okay, this is the last pick. Like, oh shit, fuck yeah. just like totally reacting to it. But that's cool. I mean, I'm glad you got to play with the big dogs there.
Yeah, I mean, there were definitely, I don't want to dog on anybody, but there were definitely picks. Like as a player, I'm sure you do this too. Like you have people who you think that you can beat out, and you have the people who you know that you're not going to beat out. But again, as you work, you're going to slowly pick apart those people.
Yeah.
So I saw some people going, and I was like, wow, like I've had results that are better than these people, or whatever the case may be, or like I may know somebody better. And I was just kind of shocked by those results.
Yeah.
And so going, I think Carolina, formerly the Seattle Pioneers, had like the last 3 picks prior to me.
Yeah.
So it went Jesse, Andrea, Colin, and then me.
Yeah.
And that was another spot where I was playing with Colin Johns at the North Carolina tournament, and we had only played 1 match, so we're getting through. But I'm like, to what extent does Colin think I'm like a decent enough player to get me on his team with Ben?
Fair. At that point, though, I don't think he has a...
No, he has no idea.
He has no idea, and then like Ben is probably picking the team regardless.
Yes, and so like based off of the Jesse and Andrea pick, those are his OGs. You know, they've been playing together forever, and then Jesse and Ben obviously played and won last season. So again, politics. It's like who you know and the time that you've been playing. So is Ben going to pick an upside pick? I don't know.
Yeah,
but it was definitely something I was looking at. And then Connor didn't even pick his first round until pick number 12. So that was a shock to me. I didn't know what his strategy was, but I thought it was interesting. And so we're going down the line. And
which, by the way, Tyson is a really good number 12 pick because that's what they got at first.
They didn't pay premium for him. So for the slot that he went, sure, it's 100%. Great. And so I heard prior to the draft that Connor wanted to build a Utah team. So I was like, okay, like right off the bat, you can pick 2 guys and 2 girls from Utah. But then Tyson drops for a good value, but he's not from Utah, but he's a fan favorite. And then you get Callie and Tyler. Obviously, you're arguably 2 best male and female players from Utah.
Yeah.
And then who are you going to take next? Megan Dazan had already got picked. Elise Jones had already got picked.
I'm like the only Utah girl left.
Right.
Hello.
So I'm like, by default, I'll take it. Yeah. But no, I remember myself being in the lobby of my hotel, like just like freaking out that I got picked. Yeah. But that was cool.
Get picked. Who do you call first?
I don't know if I should tell the story, but I was on the phone with Jason.
Okay.
And I was monitoring my group chat with Jimmy and Richie, my former Bears. Yeah. And they're texting me in a group chat, and Jason's on the phone like, congrats. And this was the pick of Anna's pick. And so apparently, I guess it was Fahey and I on the board, and you have to last minute click somebody's name. And so Jason's on the phone like crying. He's like, Alex, you did it. I'm so proud of you. But he's not telling me what happened. So I'm like freaking. I'm like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Like, tell me. And Richie and Jimmy, same thing. Congrats, A-Train. Like, good job. I'm like, what is happening? Reload. Kate Fahey. And I'm like, guys, what?
Yeah.
Like, what are you guys talking about? And I already have like tears dripping down my face. I don't know if they were happy or sad or not. But I hear a huge pause in Jason's voice. He goes, "Oh shit, I'm so sorry."
it was like so they were gonna pick you.
I don't know how it worked, but I guess that's what the three of them were saying, was that I was gonna be picked, and then last minute they changed it to Fahey.
Maybe they just misclicked.
I don't know what it is, but Jimmy was saying like they were gonna pick me, and then they just last second didn't, and everybody in the war room's kind of angry at that, like, because you can't take your pick back. I don't know. Yeah. I wasn't in the war room myself, but I was like, okay, like, just gonna stay on the phone with Jason, gonna stay calm. I think I like go in and out of phone calls with some friends during that time before I pick up the phone again with Jason. And then Richie's like, is Alex gonna get picked or not? And he's like, I'm freaking out. Yeah. I'm freaking out. I'm sweating. I'm like crying, and I'm like anxious. But at the same time, I shouldn't be panicking. I'm like, I feel like I was going to get drafted to Challenger either way.
Yeah,
but it's just about like where you want to get picked. And MLP is my favorite event. Yeah. And so, of course, I want to be playing the best in the world at my favorite event.
That said, though, like the way they're doing it this year, I mean, anything could happen.
Oh, absolutely anything.
Right? Last year, if you were a Challenger, or if let's say last year, if you didn't get picked in Premier, you were like, okay, I guess I'll just be Challenger the rest of my life, right? Like this year, like you can be the 48th, you can be undrafted.
And jump to Premier.
Like Huang did. And then like instead of like slowly progress to like, okay, like I play some Challenger, I'm good. I beat everybody, now I'm going to go play Premier. Now it's just like, oh, let's just take a chance on this guy that's undrafted and like, just have him play for the team. So it's like, it's a little bit
the
different.
rules keep changing, and the wires are now every other event. Yeah. So it's definitely interesting, but like I could be dropped tomorrow. Yeah, I could be traded right now.
Yeah, no, literally.
Did you get dropped and picked up, or were you traded?
I got dropped and picked up.
Okay.
What do you think about that? Because, when the waiver wire happens, right, and then like certain teams go through, like obviously like not everybody's gonna want me. Like I told everyone that I was hurt regardless. I'm not gonna play the mid-season.
Okay.
And so, but shouldn't everyone have, in my opinion, shouldn't everyone have like an equal opportunity to pick up a player that they might want to pick up, or not really? Because that's how I see. Because if you drop somebody and you're like pick 6, only 5 teams get to pick you.
But if you get dropped and you're put on waiver wire, every team you had to be put on wire prior to the entire draft. So you would be no.
The way they did it this time is they have round 1, and they go, okay, I'm gonna drop this person and pick up this person. Round 2, I'm gonna pick up this. I'm gonna drop this person, pick up this person, right? But then let's say you're on round 7.
Yeah. So I see what you're saying. I think you have to, if somebody's planning to be dropped, they're put on wire prior to the whole draft, whether or not you know about it.
Oh, interesting.
Because I had gotten an email saying, I got an email for the trades, and then the drops that happen, or maybe, you know what? I have a tough time with this, but with the whole complications, people keep saying it's like baseball drafts and whatever. I never played baseball. I wouldn't know.
I have no idea.
But I see what you're saying. It's not right for you to be dropped, draft pick 6, and then have 1 through 5 not be able to pick you up.
Correct. That's how I see it. Now, I don't know if they do it that way, but if they do, like to me, it just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Okay, but here's the thing. If you were to be, there's 2 rounds, right, for Challenger. If you were dropped pick 6, round 1 through 5, the next round could get you.
Yeah, now we're talking about super specific, like, 10% scenario. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, well, yeah, I mean, if the pig is flying.
Maybe.
Like,
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I just think it's like a little, if that's the way they do, I think it's a little unfair. But let's fast forward to, who are some of your partners this year? Because I'm sure, like, coming from the APP now to the PPA, kind of like mid-season, you're like, okay, let me just pick up whoever I can. But was there like people that were like, oh, let me drop this partner to play with you? Was there some of that? Are you just like kind of going through the flow? What is that looking like?
Yeah. So in the beginning of the year, when I had first signed PPA, I was definitely a little bit nervous about the partner situation. Over at the APP, I was friendly with everybody, and it's very easy to just pick up the phone and ask if you want to play with somebody. And that circle is very small.
Tiny.
Very small pool to pick from. And so going over to PPA, again, I don't want to step on anybody's toes, just asking around like if you already have a partner or not. So it's being very cautious and strategic with the way I was asking people.
Yeah.
And of course, you can go on, the pickleball brackets or PPA site to see who's paired up and who's not. Anyway, for my first tournament, I saw that Colin did not have a partner. So I just reached out, and he happened to not have anybody. So we linked up there. And then in my first tournament, I played with Tammy Emmerich because she also didn't have a partner.
Yeah.
And then from there...
Is it Tammy?
Tammy.
Yeah, I love Tammy.
Yeah,
she's like
the sweetest.
Greatest human on earth.
Her, Martin, and Gabby, so sweet.
Mm-hmm.
But that I knew that it was a progressive draw, so I knew people would be watching. And so if I could just make it through the first couple rounds, maybe some of the PPA players could, notice my game. And nobody really knew how I played because I had never stepped foot on the PPA.
Yeah.
That was my strategy going into it. And then people had only seen me play through MLP, but then I was playing Challenger and like...
Well, and then on the other side, even... I don't want to be a dick. I don't want to be a dick about this, but like even when you win the APP with Andre, it's like
nobody cares.
Yeah, a lot of people are like, well, first of all, it's APP. Secondly, she's playing with Andre.
Andre, yeah.
Right? So it's like there's always all these like the second side of the coin is kind of what I try to call it, but it's like whatever you do, people are always trying to like minimize that as much as you possibly can.
Right. It's like a lose-lose.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, you play with this person, you do well, it doesn't matter because this person is really good. If you do bad, it's your fault.
Right.
Then I don't know. There's always like something to it.
No, agreed. And so that was tough, just coming from the APP and not even playing a single PPA.
Yeah.
But that being said, I was just trying to bounce around with partners in the beginning of the year. I wanted to see what I could do with different partners. And it seems like everybody locks in partners for a fairly long time before things get switched up. Obviously, San Clemente PPA just happened, OC Cup, and that's halfway through the season. So
happens fast.
Right. Like that, like my first half of the season blew right by. And so now it's either people are going to reevaluate the partnerships or people are going to stick with what they have.
Yeah.
And you've seen a ton of upsets recently. So maybe people will be switching around, but people are also locked in with different partnerships prior to the midseason anyway.
For sure.
So anyway, the only solid partnership that I have right now moving forward this year is with Connor Garnett.
Nice.
Well,
you have to, right? If you get a bronze,
exactly.
You have to run it
so
back.
we ran it up in St. George, Utah, Red Rock, and that was an amazing tournament for the both of us. That was our first time playing together, and we just kind of clicked. And
how many serves did he miss?
CG and I laugh on this a ton, so I'm pretty sure I'm allowed to say it. But during our bronze medal match, I think he missed 10 serves and I missed 1. So collectively, we missed 11 serves. That's a whole game if you're playing rally scoring to 11, right?
So how do you? I played with him recently in Houston. But for me, like every tournament that I played this year has been like a battle of just like try to play without pain sort of thing. So I'm like more worried about myself than anything else. But like how do you like navigate through like somebody like missing that many serves? Like obviously like if you're getting bronze, it's not that bad, right?
Yeah.
But if you're losing a match, like because you get a bronze, so you lost in the semis, and I don't know how many serves he missed, but like if you're losing the match, he's missing like 10 serves. Like how do you go through that?
Yeah, no, we missed serves together as a team here and there.
He hits it, but
it was okay. Like it was definitely because in Red Rock you have the altitude, so you're hitting balls harder. They're flying out anyway. So he wasn't missing serves on the regular during games prior to that bronze medal match. So we were fine. We were just going for our serves, and him and I together. I mean, I think our vibes were great. The energies are the same, and we were matching up play wise and personality wise. So honestly, like I felt like I was being a good partner and being very uplifting, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And regardless of the serve, you just get your serve in, and then he's playing his game.
hard for him to do.
I mean, he stepped up when he needed to, for sure. I mean, I think our bronze medal match was 11-9, 11-9, and I watched it back literally 2 days ago. It should not have been 11-9, 11-9.
Yeah.
I mean, we were playing on one serve.
Yeah, you should have lost. That's what should have happened.
We were playing great though. I mean, I don't think I got down on him at all until maybe like literally the 9th or 10th miss serve, where we were up like 9-8 or something like that in the second game, and he serves one, and I'm like,
you literally
like,
don't
I'm
even
like,
know.
Don't miss my serve, because honestly, it put pressure on me because you don't want to miss 2 serves.
No, you don't want to miss one serve at all. Either.
No, but Connor clutches up every single time. He's
100%.
got that two-way backhand, and so I would serve, and he drives his backhand and crashes on the backhand, points over. So I'm like, okay, like I never lost confidence in him, and I didn't really lose confidence in myself. So we were fine.
Well, it's unbelievable, right? Because he's playing like singles against Federico and Los Cap, and the guy's missing serves right and left, and he's still winning the tournament. Like,
he clutches up.
It's so interesting to me. That's
he's a great player, and so I'm really excited to play with him moving forward.
So you moved. So let's backtrack a little bit, right? So you moved to Utah.
Yeah.
You said Virginia?
Yeah.
Yeah, from Virginia. And then you're like, okay, I'm going to play pickleball full time. This is exactly what I want to do. You know, one lifetime opportunity sort of thing, right? Yeah. What does all your training, all your mornings routine? I've seen a couple of videos on Instagram back in the day. wake up at 5. But what does that all look like to you? Like, how much do you train? How, you know, what does that look like?
Yeah, so if I'm in Utah for weeks at a time, I like to get a solid routine going, and I don't like to change things up, but there's not much that I like to do anyway. So I'll wake up maybe 6, 7, 8 o'clock, depending on
6 and 8 is quite a bit different.
It's whatever I feel like waking up.
Yeah.
I'm definitely in the gym probably 2 or 3 hours a day, 7 days a week, whether that be
2 or 3 hours.
But I'm not working out for 2 to 3 hours.
On the phone.
You can be lifting, and then like, you know, Instagram break.
Mm-hmm.
No, because I love going. So I have a lifetime membership, and so I love going to Lifetimes. And my Lifetime in Utah has the most epic recovery center. Okay. So we have cryo, we have hydro massage, wow. The Theraguns. Obviously, you can roll out yourself, stretching machines, the Normatec legs, and then literally. Hot tub sauna, and then even some locations you can go to has a cold plunge. So nice. I absolutely love doing that. So anyway, I'll be doing a workout that I get programmed by my trainer. I have a customized program that he'll just put into an app for me, and I'll follow along. Yeah. So we like to alternate between lifting days and then on-court days where we'll do like footwork and agility or sprints. Mm-hmm. So that's also really good. And I feel like I've gotten super strong. Not like buff, but like, strong, you know, not as buff as you, but it's fine.
I was so big. Like
your ears, for sure.
Oh my.
Until you got injured, but.
You have no idea. I went through it for like 3 weeks. Like
That's tough.
It was great. I lost like 25 pounds.
Actually, I remember you posting a video on Instagram of just some like split stance banded workouts, and I was like, this is like, I used to do this stuff for tennis, and it had reminded me again that like you don't need to be doing the most excessive exercises in the gym. You could be doing simple stuff with like easy movements, and it still activates your body. Yeah. And so that's when I started to reach out to people to talk about what kind of training schedule I should be on. Yeah. So again, I'm hopefully going to the gym first thing, and then in Utah, I like to go play in several locations. So with Jason, it's probably 2 times a week, and I'll go travel 30 minutes south to Club Pickleball if you've been there. Yeah. And so we like to train there during the winter times, get good drill sessions in, and then my day. It just keeps going. I'll end up driving like 2 hours north to go play with some other guys. Okay. But it's just so much fun because I want to apply what I learned with Jason that day to some rec play. And then during rec play, whether it be good or bad, if I want to work on something else that I pinpointed during play, then I'll go drive another hour west across the mountains to go drill with my guy Austin Reed. Yeah. So it's like I'm in several locations. No, if you look at my Life 360, it's like it's all over the place.
Would you just move somewhere closer?
I mean, no, because I'm in between. I'm in the prime spot.
Okay, you're in
so I don't plan it properly.
If you're driving 2 hours north, that's not.
Oh, it depends. It depends. So I'll go like 30 minutes south, and then an hour out of the way, east.
Okay.
And then it takes me another hour to get north.
Okay.
So then I'm just driving all over the place.
Yeah.
But in Utah, we have courts on every block. So if I really wanted to hit up somebody, I can just tell them where I wanted to go.
Yeah.
So again, I'm having 2 to 3 sessions of play in Utah for 2 hours each.
How sustainable do you think that is? Because I've done my fair share of like, I'm gonna wake up at 6, be at the gym by 7, hit 10 to 12, eat some food, like hit like 2 to 4, and it's like it doesn't last that long until I'm like, oh my god, like I'm fucking exhausted.
Well, I feel great.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I'm not in Utah for weeks at a time. So if I were to do that for a month straight, maybe it wouldn't be sustainable.
Yeah.
But then I'll do that for a solid week. That's good enough to make myself feel really good, strong and fit. And then I'm on the road again for a tournament. So then whatever I did at home to apply to fitness, you go to a tournament and you just run through the tournament.
Do you work out on the road?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, a ton of our tournaments have been at Lifetimes, so that's super convenient. I get a good warm up in every single morning and then go out to play, do some recovery. And then if you have an off day, you just work out.
Yeah. How much, I guess like a tricky question, but for me personally, like I know my upper body always feels better than my lower body, right?
Okay.
And a lot of times if you're a girl, like it just feels different. Like you're stronger in the legs, right? And so like how often are you doing like legs opposed to upper body, right? Because we need strength in different places, right? I'm just really strong up here. You're stronger in the legs. Or, how often are you like running instead of lifting? Like what's kind of like the ratio that you found that kind of works really well for you?
Yeah, so I have my trainer who does my customized programs, helps me out with that. And so I feel like the programs that I've been doing recently, I have different blocks that are one upper body, one lower body, one core workout. So it's all very balanced. And then you'll have like 3 to 5 blocks of that. And so everything feels very equal.
Yeah.
And then, like I mentioned just a bit ago, I have every other day be in the gym and then agility. And so I'm still getting my speed and my running in and cardio in addition to the lifting portion. So I feel like I've been pretty balanced, whereas before this program, I would still go to the gym, but it's always like built like a leg day and an arm day and an upper body, lower body day, and that didn't work out.
Bro split.
Right, but at the same, like that's not bad at all.
Yeah.
But as a pickleball player or just like an athlete that's running around a ton, maybe that's not the best, So like I tell people like I work out for my sport. I don't work out to get built.
Right.
So there are differences in that, and still trying to figure out what feels best or what, because I'm not trying to, like gain 30 pounds and then cut another 10, that's just not my workout regimen. Yeah. I mean, I'm cool in another life, but specifically for pickleball, I think it definitely has to be balanced and not overdoing it. It helps.
Yeah, 100% agree. I would say just kind of what it looks like to me when it comes to pickleball. And I talked to a bunch of people about it, right? But I think Augie has a really good idea of like what the perfect workout looks like. And Augie is really smart. I don't know if you talked to Augie at all, but when I talk to him, I feel like really dumb. And he's like, yeah, I just do knees over toes workouts. He's like, I'm able to like balance better. I'm able to, like lean forward, reach further, right? And all these things. So it kind of like unlocks your ankle mobility. Okay. And on top of that, you keep your tendons and all this stuff healthy, right? Because if you're just like doing squats, lifting, trying to get a bunch of weight on, like you're growing muscle, or maybe you're trying if you're eating the right amount of protein, but it doesn't necessarily translate. It's like knees over toes only. Then basically what you also want to be doing is core, right? Because it all helps like balance and strength and kind of like weight transition when you're hitting a shot. And then the other one is forearm exercises.
Yes.
Yeah, like a little J'd up action. And then what I was told too, it's back. Right? Yeah. Because when you're like reaching, like going behind you, you're like leaning, like all that's like back muscles. So like if you just focus on that, you'll basically be a really good player. And then I think obviously you have to, kind of, I mean, you can go to the beach. Well, you can go to the mountain, right? And then you put 2 cones, and then in my opinion, you do like side shuffles.
Yeah.
Like that's all you need to do, because that's like what pickleball is. So you do a sprint forward, basically trying to get to the kitchen. Now, if you're an amateur, like don't sprint to the kitchen, but you get what I'm saying.
I do.
And then everything else is like left, right, left, right, left, right. So I feel like making really simple exercises, but making them as hard as you possibly can is like the best way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, again, in my training app, whatever program that I have for the like agility and speed portion, like I get very specific instructions. I get like a paragraph and I have to set different timers for certain sprints and the directions that you go and then the directions that you turn, because you're going to be turning in all different directions on a pickleball court. That being said, I'm like 5'3.5", 115 pounds, and I always have been 115 pounds, whether that be just muscle or fat, whatever the case is. But like,
I haven't seen much fat, but sounds good.
I am one of the smaller girls on tour,
for sure.
You know, and so watching Annalie play, for example, Annalie's again in her own bubble, but she's huge and she has so much muscle on her, and like she just hits shots so hard that I'm not going to be able to hit the same shot that she is. You know, I'm not going to be able to hit through it, and I can't hit a ball as deep as her with the same amount of effort. So if I'm in the gym and I'm trying to build up that muscle while eating well at the same time, like just small adjustments to slowly build and get stronger, it'll translate onto the court. Again, I'm not trying to lift to have a gym bod, but just
maybe a beach bod.
I feel like I do like my body, and we'll leave it at that.
Okay, that's a conversation with DJ here. What are some what do you look the most forward to in a partner? So like, you know, I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, I want them to be fun, like, you know, lighthearted, like I just want to have a good time, right? But as you make more and more money in pickleball, a lot of times for us, it's like more of a job than it is just like I love
for fun,
right? So do you like to play with people that, and obviously you like Connor Garnett, I play with Connor, so I kind of know the vibe, but do you like them where it's kind of like business and you're like just trying to win, figure out a way, or do you want to be like laughing between points? What does that look like to you?
All the above. I mean, it would be super awesome. So with Connor and I didn't really know him prior to when we were playing, and so I just was going into it very, very fun. I knew that I need to trust him as a partner, and I feel like that's a big thing, is trust in a partner. Sure. I feel like it's easier with guys, to be honest, because the guys are so laid back. Yeah. But with a women's partner, it can be tough, just because you play different rules, and some people want their specific left or right side, and then you have to mesh together. Yeah. So for me, in an ideal partnership, I would like to, you know, train my side and my shots, mix it around, but work together as a team, not just you go practice, I go practice, and we happen to come together. That's not a partnership.
You want like an Ed Megan sort of thing.
Totally. Yeah. So I just played with Callie Smith in Sacramento, and we're obviously MLP teammates. And so we get together in Utah to play. And so that's us working together as a team. And Callie's like the sweetest person ever. And so her vibes are very positive and uplifting. And so whenever I'm down, she's going to be like, hey, like, no worries. Like, let's do it again. And her doing that for me, I get the sense that she would like the same reciprocated.
For sure.
So that just helps between each other, like, you know. So also being new to the PPA, I'm trying to pick up partners who have that experience already. So I do see myself as kind of like that beta role, but I want to be a good beta. You know, I don't want to take.
I know there was such thing.
Well, like a good player, that's a beta. I don't want to be somebody who like takes over and acts like I'm the boss, because I'm not. Right. That's just what it is.
Not
so
a 5'3.5" and 150 pounds. I do like my body though.
That's just not what I'm gonna get. So yeah, positivity is great, but also finding somebody who's very serious about their play, not just showing up. Because people with our contracts, we show up, we get paid. But you can choose to show up, get paid, and play good and build your business and your brand and your name by playing well and making it through each round, or you show up, get paid, go 0-2 and not care, and you just collect bank. So it's what you decide. And so me being 19, of course I want to get paid. This is my job, but there are little things that you can do to get better. And so the better that you play, more business opportunities come about and you get noticed. So that's another thing. So again, with you starting a podcast, like, this is a super great idea, because what if you get hurt and you can't play anymore? Then you need a business backup, and you know, something like building a podcast can help you get there.
Yeah, I'm making so much money. You have
so
no
much cash
idea.
that you have. Yeah, like you're moving into a mansion in San Clemente. So
yeah, a little 3-bed mansion. Yeah. No, I totally get what you're saying. So like that said, like who, like obviously knowing what you know, like what are like one guy partner, one female partner, like what's ideal, like what do you think is ideal to you if you had to like name drop 2 people?
If I could pick, it would be Connor Garnett and Callie Smith.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
okay. Have
yeah.
you talked to Callie about it? Are you like, hey, let's play together?
I mean, so our Sacramento tournament was kind of last minute because she didn't have anybody for it, and it was the first event prior to our MLP event. So it was great practice for MLP. And so long as I'll stay a Utah Black Diamond, I'll get to play with her and keep building on that partnership, which I'd love to do. I have reached out to see if for like the last minute tournaments that have popped in, like Vegas, if she wants to play.
There's one in Vegas?
Yeah, so Seattle got moved to Vegas.
Okay.
And then Denver got canceled. But so for these little tournaments, I've asked, no response. But but she has several different people lined up. So again, I don't want to step on anybody's toes by just asking when I know that they're already locked in.
But the worst they can say is say no, or I have a partner, right? Like you obviously, like you don't want to go out of your way and be like, hey Ben, like let's play, right? But at the same time, like there's definitely a bunch of like people within the bubble that you're like, okay, I could ask these people.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, and you never know when somebody's gonna split up, so maybe just shooting your shot here and there. And then with Connor, I mean, we've only played one, but having a medal under our belts is not a bad thing. So we're gonna keep going and see what else we can do.
He's only getting better and better too. I mean,
totally.
I mean, the serve needs some work, but everything else is just getting really good. So, and I love playing with Connor. I think we had a really good time. It's one of those things where like if you had just like played better, like one or two points, that you could be in the finals,
right?
And then you kind of fell through a little bit, but that's awesome. Is there anything that you're looking forward to like this year that you're like super excited for outside of like playing some MLP?
I think just all the tournaments, really. Since it's my first year, I haven't been to many of those tour stops that happened last year. So I've heard Vegas is super nice. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to playing in Utah. The Utah crowds go nuts. Yeah. So I'm excited to play there and get that home crowd going. Let's see where else. Really just competing. Like I love being on the road. I love traveling.
Schedule? Like every single tournament?
Yeah.
That's what I was doing too at 19.
You have to. But it's a lot of fun. I'm not worn out yet. So just keep traveling and keep training and
And you're just getting better and better. So every tournament, you're probably at a point where you play a tournament, like, okay, I know exactly what I need to work on. And that's kind of like the best feeling too. Like you get to the quarterfinals, you lose like close, and then you're like, okay, like fuck, I need to do this.
There is always something to pick apart, and it's so helpful that the PPA has several courts being streamed so that you can go back and watch your matches. Yeah, sure. And then Jason's obviously one of like my biggest helps. He'll watch my matches too, and then we'll analyze and game film and all that. Yeah. And then whenever I go home, we'll apply that to our sessions on court, and then every single time I get out of a 2-hour session, like I feel that much better.
Yeah. So with Jason specifically?
Specifically with Jason.
Jason's the man.
Jason's awesome. I mean, I'm going to have blood on my fingers after every practice, but
yeah, I mean, with the way he feeds, I don't
put my eye protection on and maybe some Band-Aids and I'll be okay with him.
You can pull his hand a bar and play with a glove too. Cool, very nice. Well, I'm just going to say a quick thank you to all my sponsors real quick. So thank you, Stag, all of you guys, Hessa Court, You Drippin', there's all of you guys out there, obviously Head Shoes, DJ Young at checkout if you want a nice little discount and, helps me pay the bills as well. And if there's anything you want to thank or say or whatever, we're opening up the pod to you. And like and subscribe before I forget.
Yeah, well, thank you to Gigi for having me on. Shout out to my sponsors, Chicken and Pickle, Engage, obviously the Utah Black Diamonds, go Utes. Shout out to my dogs, Kirby and Zara. Other than that, we're good.
Awesome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.